Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Living in the West, a series of programs where we look into the Muslim minorities living in the West, trying to provide some ideas, to how they can have a vision, a strategy while living in the West. I'm with Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad from the Muslim Research and Development Foundation in the UK. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam.
Jazakallah for returning. We spoke about in the past the importance of a vision statement or vision and a strategy for this group of people, this group of Muslims, how to believe in one. We then looked at an individual basis, taking that Tawheed and Ibadah is what our vision is. Then we looked at the communal priorities. So this is community priorities. We spoke about how to keep the Tawheed within a community. So we spoke, for example, how when we participate as a community, it makes sure we don't break this link with Tawheed. Now, are there other priorities which follow from this, Sheikh, that we need to know about, that are important for us as a community?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa usalli wa usallim ala al-mab'uthi rahmatan lil alameen, sayyidil awwalin wal akhirin, nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. As we have mentioned before, in terms of the matrix, if you remember the matrix, and if the brothers and sisters do remember the matrix, where we said on an individual level and on a communal level. And we have the first priority, which is Tawheed. Tawheed for the individual level and community level as well. And then we have to go one step further. And we said for individuals, the first priority is Tawheed. Then after that, it comes the 5 main pillars of Al-Islam, or the other 4 main pillars of Al-Islam. And we have said that the basis of this is hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, ليكن أول ما تدعوهم إليه شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله فإنهم أجابوا لذلك أو فإنهم عرفوا الله فأخبرهم بأن الله افترض عليهم 5 صلوات. Means the first thing to call them to is to establish the Tawheed. If they establish Tawheed, then you call them to practice the 5 daily prayers. So these are the 4 main pillars, the 4 pillars of Al-Islam, and they are the 4 main obligations: Salah, Siyam, Zakah, and Hajj. The community, on a community level, they have to make sure that they are, as a community, are eligible by law to practice their salah, to practice their fasting, and to practice their zakah, and to practice their hajj. For example, in some Russian countries, people were not allowed to go to hajj. So this is a serious problem, because there is a violation, clear violation for one of the pillars of Al-Islam. Now, someone might say that praying, they can pray at home.
That's right.
No one knows about them. And we remember, if you remember, we gave the example by Sheikh Ja'far Idris about some people who were living under USSR, and they were prohibited from praying, and they used to pray on a piece of cotton in order not to be distinguished as Muslims. Someone can say, well, they can pray at home. Fasting, it is a matter of abstention. You are not forced to eat in front of people. Zakah, you can give zakah to poor people. No one knows about it. Hajj, you will be known that you are traveling to Mecca. Of course, some people used to travel other ways, but officially they were banned. They were not allowed to go for Hajj. Now, this is an extreme case. Of course, we don't have this in Europe, but imagine that this happens, then a serious violation is taking place, and we need to consider that. apart from that, if we say that Muslims are not allowed to establish their mosques, their masajid, we know that in most of the European countries, they are allowed to establish their masajid. However, they are not allowed to establish their some masajid in some areas. We need to look at that. But generally speaking, they are allowed. If they were stopped from building their own masajid, then the matter will be serious and we need to take it into consideration. Now, these are examples of the 5 pillars. Now, what did we say? We say that they are, as a community, allowed to practice these 5 pillars, which means that also if someone is recognized as a Muslim because he belongs to the Muslim community, then he has the right to pray. We mention this as an example for individuals, that he as an individual has the right to pray. Sometimes, as we said before, the individual, he may get some rights as an individual, but as a community, no, they don't get this right. So if they said that no faith is allowed to practice his faith in the workplace, full stop. Or take it one step further. If they said no faith is allowed to be practiced inside certain governmental agencies, then we may say that it is not allowed for Muslims to work in these particular agencies because this goes against their practicing their main pillars. So, as a community, they should be allowed to practice their 5 pillars. Now, this, as we said, this is the basic, the minimum, which means that there are some other levels that need to be achieved, which is for the Muslim community to be recognized as an official body within that body, within that specific government.
Okay, if I can just quickly stop you there. I mean, this is what's going to be one of my questions, because people do say Islam is recognized, and we have in some countries, they say, like an example, Belgium, some of the Muslims say we're recognized as an official religion. What does this recognition mean, though, Sheikh? I mean, you're saying we have to fight towards this recognition. What do we mean by fighting towards this recognition?
This is what we want. This is, at least the first step is for Islam to be recognized as an official religion for the people in this country, officially recognized. Now, this official recognition, I know that it might not be that much clear, but it is a stepping stone towards other recognitions, and this is what we want. It's not that just Islam is recognized. What does it mean? What does it imply? Nothing. No, this is not what we are aiming for. But what we are aiming for is the steps that take place after this official recognition. And that's why we say if Muslims, they might not have that official recognition in order to practice their faith, but by law, all faiths are allowed to practice their religion inside the workplaces, inside other premises, then that will be enough. And here, there is a very, very important point, because some people might say, well, we as Muslims are not recognized as a community. This is not a big problem. The biggest problem is that if there are other laws that prevent you, that stop you from practicing your religion. And in most European countries, there are nothing like this, because there are laws that allow other faiths, including Islam, to practice their religion. So, we can use that law in order to secure our rights to practice our religion. And here, by the way, again, as we said before, in terms of not to take something on a face value and just to take it in a wholesale scenario and say, well, this is kufr, is not allowed. It is kufr to maybe to recognize other faiths as proper faiths. This is kufr, because we believe that the true faith is al-Islam.
That's right.
And there is no discussion about it. But if we accept a certain law that allows other faiths to practice their religion, and we took that particular law to secure our rights as Muslims to practice our religion, this is not kufr.
But how far does that go, Sheikh Haytham?
It doesn't mean that we are accepting other faiths. If you are using something for your own benefit, it doesn't mean that you believe in it or you like it. Sometimes you might do something that you dislike and you hate, but you are doing it because this is the best choice
for
you.
the greater good of establishing or giving rights to Islam on a community level, you're willing to accept other things, not to say you're accepting them in faith, but accepting them so you will get your rights too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. For example, I know this might be a very controversial issue.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if they said, well, now we want to have voting on allowing all faiths to build their own worship places.
Mm-hmm.
So means Hindus, they will build their temples, Jews will build their own synagogues, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Do we march with them or not? Do we sign for that or not? Do we vote for that or not? If we say not, then we will be banned and others will be banned. For example, in the UK, we are the biggest minority. So if we say no, then we are shooting ourselves in the foot, because we will be the first people to be stopped from practicing these things. So we say, yeah, allow it, and we have no problem for it. This is not an Islamic country. These are Sikhs, Jews. They are implementing their own religion. Let them implement their own religion, and let them have their own temples. We disagree with their religion, totally disagree with their religion, but we have nothing to do, and we want to establish our own mosques and our own masajid.
Jazakallah. I think we'll stop on this point. We'll return on looking at more at some of the more important priorities for the community. We're going to take a short break, inshallah, and return in a couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Huda TV is launching a new website for you, your family and friends. Everyone. A new look, top-level designs and better technology. You will be able to ping Huda TV's new website and read all our articles, surf our video archives, chat live on Huda's forum, vote, support our programs, and give us your suggestions or criticisms. We welcome your thoughts. We strive to please all our viewers worldwide. Huda, a light in every home.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Living in the West. Sheikh Haytham, we have an interesting discussion just before the break. I want to take a little point from there. You said that now if we want to safeguard or secure, having our own freedom, sometimes we use other laws to do that. Now I'm going to give you a scenario, and this is something which is quite new, but it's happening in the UK, for example. If, for example, there's a law saying it's going to allow other faiths to practice totally, including other practices which are abhorrent to Islam. For example, homosexuality. If we allow those, then Islam, or our practice of Islam, also has some freedoms. Do we support this? That means supporting homosexuality in a roundabout way. Or do we abstain from this, and that means abstaining from some of our freedoms?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, I think this is a real dilemma, and many people do ask about this, and many people are confused. We need to articulate our views as such by saying that no, we only support the laws that do not involve any actions that harm the society. So there is a difference between saying that each religion to build their own temples or worshipping places. We can support that law. We have no problem with it, because this is the kafirs are already there. They are implementing their own religion, and they are practicing their own religion, etc. If we say, no, we don't want that because we didn't believe in Judaism, or we don't believe in Sikhism or Hinduism, so of course they will say, okay, we will stop building mosques. We'll abolish even maybe mosques. Now, this is different, because we say if they have their own synagogues, anyway, Jewish people are going to their synagogue and practicing their religion. This does not harm the society from that angle. However, we say, in terms of the homosexuality, you mentioned the example of homosexuality. We say no, we will never support homosexuality, because we believe that this is an evil practice, not only harming, not only evil by itself, but it causes civil harm, civil disruption.
Unrest, this causes, yes.
Unrest. And it will increase the amount of crimes. So that's why we will never support that. So many people say, okay, if homosexuals came to you and say, listen, we will support you and you need to support us, what shall we say? No, we say no, we'll never support you. So this is the ruling, and it has to be clarified, and it has to be clear. You remember the case of this British Airways staff member, where she was not allowed to wear the cross. And then they said, why she's not allowed to wear the cross while Muslims are allowed to wear their religious symbols, as they say. And for example, if they came to us and said, well, we want to march and to lobby the government in order to allow us or to give us this freedom to wear the crosses, and this means that it will allow you to wear hijab and to wear even the veil. If we don't do this, then they will ban us from wearing crosses and ban us as well from wearing hijab, as what happened in France, and even not allowing Sikh from wearing their turbans. Can we march all together? Can we work, all of us, all communities, Muslims, Jewish, Sikhs, etc., in order to achieve this, in order to have a law that allows us to practice our faiths in an individual level? Yes, we can. We can do that. Because at the end of the day, we are living in France. Muslims are living in France. Muslims are living in Europe. Muslims are living in other places, non-Islamic places. And they have to practice their religion. The other communities are living there. They want to practice, they will practice their religion whether we like it or not. And if we say that we are against their religion, that will not help us. And they are practicing their religion by themselves alone. And we can use what Sharia said about abolishing the synagogues or abolishing the churches or temples. You know, from an Islamic point of view, if the Islamic State, or if a country became an Islamic country and there are already some synagogues and some churches, those synagogues and churches, we allow them to stay as they are. We don't abolish them, we don't destroy them, but we do not build new synagogues or new temples. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we accepted the faith as a faith? No, it doesn't mean that we accepted the faith as a faith. Means we believe that Christianity is a right religion, Judaism is a right religion, and so on and so forth. No, it doesn't mean that.
On the contrary, if somebody is a homosexual, that's in the Islamic State now. What was the situation there?
Yeah, well, then we will never allow him to practice that, because this is an evil by itself, and it causes unrest, civil unrest, and it will increase the crimes, etc., etc. So even if he said, well, that he was a Christian, gay or lesbian, and this is what he used to practice. Okay, this yourself is something different, but are we allowed to practice? Are we allowed you to practice that? No, we are not allowed. For example, if a certain country became a Muslim country, a Muslim state country, and they have places for fornication, adultery, and prostitution, etc. And they said, okay, allow these places as you allowed the synagogues and churches. No. We have textual evidences to allow churches and synagogues that have been built, but we are not allowed to let those people operate. This is the difference. Why? This is evil itself, and it will cause more increase of the evil in the society. So similarly, we can draw a similar conclusion by saying that if they ask us to work with them in order to have this law, yes, we are allowed to work with them to achieve that under this condition, which is to practice their religion in their individual premises, not to practice something that is considered to be evil action or practice in the society, and it will increase the evil practices in the society.
But what do you say to some people who say, well, actually, the evil of shirk, this is the greater evil. This is much more greater than the evil of homosexuality, which is a sin. This evil, you're allowing this evil. What do you say to that, Sheikh?
Agree, but those people are already kafir. These people are already Sikh, and whether they built their masjid, their temple, or they have not built it, they are going to practice it, to practice their own religion. However, homosexuality is something that transit, means the person will practice it and will practice it with others, and the evil will spread. So it's not something limited to the personality. If someone said that he is a gay, but he is not practicing this, let him be a gay. We have no problem with him. And again, we are not talking about the typical situation. We are talking about fiqh related to Muslims living in the West. So we have to take into consideration other factors. We are not saying that on the ideal situation, that is the best practice to do. But we are talking about in this particular circumstance, what do we need to do? We have no options. Then we can say, yes, we use this option because those people are already practicing their own religion, and this will not harm the society, and this will not harm us directly. And in the meantime, this is helping us as well to practice our religion and to have our own premises. While in the case of homosexuality, this is something considered to be evil, and this spread evil.
Okay, can I just take this a bit further on? Now, what about the other sins then? Because, see, now we've gone into an area of the great sins here, really. What about other sins? We spoke about individual level, that we have to prioritize. We have Tawheed to implement the 5 pillars, and the community is the same. What about the great sins? How did they get involved in this?
It is the same thing, the same discussion that we have mentioned about on an individual level, where we said if the person is forced to practice certain major sins, or put in a situation where he is forced to practice these major sins. Same thing we say on an individual, on a communal level, that if they are forced to practice that. And as far as I know, in most of the European countries, Muslims are not forced to practice these sins. There are 2 main sins that maybe you can say that we are forced to practice them, which is riba, and the other one is, unfortunately, fornication. In terms of riba, we have to take one point into consideration, a very important point, which is, it is true that we are forced to have some riba-based transactions. But those transactions are also exist in Muslim countries, unfortunately. So if we escape, if we flee these countries, again we will have the same problem in the Muslim countries. So this has to be taken into consideration, and maybe we will explain it later, inshallah. Now the issue of zina, if we are not forced to practice zina, but if the Muslim community put in a situation where zina spread among the Muslim community because of certain environmental issues and factors, then the Muslim community need to take the matter seriously and need to apply certain measures in order to stop that.
Okay, Sheikh, we're running out of time. We've actually run out of time. But this issue of the communal responsibilities, especially when it comes to the major sins, I think we'll tackle in the next episode. Jazakallah khair. Well, that's all the time we have for you today on Living in the West. We hope you join us on the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.